If you're running a restoration company doing over $5 million a year and you still feel like the business owns you, this one is for you. You've done everything right. You've literally survived the startup phase where it's like everything can go to shit at any moment, and you did it. You built a team, you have trucks on the road, you're getting jobs in consistently, but you realize that you're in a new kind of trap. You're the highest paid, most stressed out fucking employee in your own company. And right now, private equity firms are raising billions of dollars to buy businesses just like yours. And it's not because you're a great operator. It's because they know something you don't. They know the difference between running a business and building an asset. Today, I'm gonna pull back that curtain onto the PE playbook. I'm gonna show you two frameworks that separate operators from CEOs, true CEOs. First, we're gonna cover the only 3 jobs a restoration CEO can only do, nobody else. And second, we'll break down the critical shift from being a P&L CEO to what I call a balance sheet CEO. This is the playbook to build a business that serves you, not the other way around. And if you do this right, it's how you build a company that PE is just drooling to buy, but you'll never need to sell it. You might want to, and that's how you get the highest multiple too. My journey in this industry started like many of yours. On the tools, I was a technician, I was good at it, I knew how to drive buildings, scope a job, make a customer happy. My dad and I had started our own company and we scaled it by being the best technicians. If a job was complex, we were there. If a customer was upset, I took the call, and it was great. I was literally the hero. And that got me to a few million of revenue, but not gonna lie, I was drowning. So I made the next jump and I became the operator. I read EOS and all those books, and I hired other technicians, and I built systems and created checklists and got all the industry consultants and put managers in the place. And I was no longer doing the work with my hands. I was managing people who were doing the work. And that got me past the $5 million mark. But from the outside, it looked like I had made it and everyone was celebrating me. But inside, I felt like I was even more trapped. I had more overhead, more complexity, more problems, and I wasn't a technician anymore, but I also wasn't a CEO either. It wasn't like I was like flying around, living the dream. I was kind of like the general manager of a bigger payroll company and more stress. And I think this is the operator's trap. It's where most restoration business owners live and then die. They get stuck in like optimizing the P&L. I see it all the time. They chase more revenue, they cut costs, they try to squeeze a little bit more margin out of every job, and they try to become a better operator. But the path to true scale and true freedom isn't about becoming a better operator. It's about something else entirely. It's about becoming the CEO of your restoration business. And being a CEO isn't a title. It's a different type of job. It only has 3 responsibilities: vision, people, capital. Job number 1 is vision. And by vision, I don't mean the mission statement hanging on your wall. Vision is the work of strategic subtraction. It's not about what you're going to do. It's about what you're going to stop doing. As an operator, you're almost wired to say yes to any job, any customer, any opportunity. You got to fucking make those income numbers work. But as a CEO, you're actually paid to say no. No, we don't really do that type of work. Even though it comes through the door through this BDR, we just don't do it. No, we're not going to drive 2 hours to serve that area. No, that just is not who we are. When I was scaling my restoration company, the most important decision I made was to never get on third-party administrators, even though my entire team wanted to get on TPA work. And now looking back, it was kind of terrifying because there was this potential of all this work, but it was the only way to become the best in the world at being an independent restorer. And our margins were so great, and the ability to get, like right now, I think we get like $8 to $10 million of work off of online marketing. And when I bring in smart people from the TPA land, they're just like drooling over the amount of work that we're able to bring in. Your job as a CEO is to do the same, to be very strongly opinionated and draw the map for the company. And the map is only as useful if it shows you which roads to not take. Which brings me to job number 2, which is people. That's the second job. But again, it's not what you think. As an operator, you manage people, you check on them, you solve their problems, you hold them accountable, you build a family. As a CEO, your job is to build the leaders who manage the people. Your job is to build a team. And you can't hire A-plus players if you're still the best player in the field. Your job is to literally eliminate yourself, make yourself redundant, to hire people who are better than you as operators, at finance, at sales, and to kind of let go of the reins. And no superstar is going to want to come in and work within your organization if you're micromanaging. They're going to go to the competitor who actually has a CEO. My biggest breakthrough as a leader was when I hired a general manager who was actually a better operator than I ever was. And it was in that moment that I started working on the business, not in it. And ever since then, I never looked back. Stop looking for employees who can follow your instructions to the T, and start recruiting leaders who can achieve outcomes without you. Which brings me to the third job, capital. And it's literally the most important. As an operator, you think of how much money in terms of cash flow, How do you make payroll? How do we pay for this truck? You're literally a spender. As a CEO, you need to think about money as an investor. You're a capital allocator. And I meet so many restoration business owners that literally like milk the fucking cow out of their business and just shovel a bunch of cash and then go put it in fucking mutual funds. It's like, bro, your mutual funds are going to grow at like 10 to 15% year over year. There's no other place where your money can multiply faster than your business. But that's because they don't understand how to become a capital allocator. Every dollar that comes into your business has a choice. It could either be reinvested into marketing, it could be used to acquire a competitor, it could be used to pay down debt, it could also be distributed to you as an owner. Your job is to ask one question every single day. What is the highest and best use of our next dollar to increase the long-term value of this company? And answering that simple question is the entire game. And it's what separates the P&L watchers, the, oh my God, the sky is falling, our EBITDA dropped, to the empire builders. I learned a lot of this and I took it back to restoration. I operate both a software company and a restoration company. But when I went into software land, software companies literally burn millions of dollars until they get to profitability. I mean, we spent like $20 million on R&D at Albi. We built a company worth over $100 million. So I was like, So EBITDA didn't really matter all that much as long as you're growing enterprise value. This brings me to part 3, the final, most critical distinction. And this is the secret that private equity firms understand better than anyone. There are 2 types of CEOs. First, there's the P&L CEO. This is the general manager we talked about. They're obsessed over the profit and loss statement. They live and die by monthly revenue, gross margins, net income. And don't get me wrong, you need all of that. Like, that's good. They're focused on making the business more profitable this year in the short run. Let's hit this annual operating plan. But this is where 99% of restoration business owners are stuck. They think their job is to run a great P&L. And that's a good job, but it's not the CEO's job. That's like the department managers. They should run their own P&Ls, and you hire a GM to run the entire P&L. Then there's the balance sheet CEO. This is the capital allocator. They're obsessed with the balance sheet. They think in terms of, okay, if I spend $1 here and my company's worth 8x EBITDA, the return on equity is X. And okay, should I buy more assets? Should I not? Their focus isn't making the business more profitable this year necessarily. It's making the business more valuable in the long run. And sometimes you got to trade short-term profits for long-term gain. Let me say that again. The P&L CEO builds an income, which is important, but the balance sheet CEO builds an asset. And I learned this from the private equity world. When a PE firm looks at your business, they don't care about your revenue. They care about your EBITDA, your earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And it's a proxy for cash flow. They take that EBITDA and they put a multiple on it. They say, 6, 4, whatever. That multiple is your enterprise value. And the PE book is simple. They buy your company for, let's say, 4 to 6x multiple. Then they install systems to de-risk the business, remove you as a bottleneck. Then they grow the EBITDA for 3 to 5 years, and then they sell it at an 8 to 10x multiple. And they literally finance all of that with the profit of the business. Like, they're not sitting and milking the business. They're using the business as profit to pay off that loan. So there's like not much risk on their end. And that's because they're balance sheet CEOs. They don't know how to dry a building, but they know how to build value. And here's the key. You can do the same thing. You can start acting like a balance sheet CEO in your own company today. Start by asking different questions. Instead of how do we increase revenue by 10%, ask how do we get our EBITDA multiple from 4 to 6x? And the answer isn't sell more jobs. It's things like getting recurring revenue contracts with plumbers or diversifying your referral sources, building a leadership team that removes you from the day-to-day, documenting your systems so the business isn't just a reflection of you, applying AI, all kinds of things that you could do to increase that multiple. And these are things that create real transferable enterprise value. This is what PE already knows. And if you learn it first, you can control your own destiny. A nice example that I like to do is I like to ask myself, if PE were to buy my business tomorrow, what would they do? And they make a list. And if I don't know, I would go talk to the PE folks and be like, hey, what do you guys typically do when you buy a restoration business? Take good notes, then go do all that myself. And then I get all the benefits, not the private equity company. Just saying. So the journey from technician to operator is about leverage. But the journey from operator to CEO, that's about identity. It's about letting go of the need to be the hero. It's about trading comfort of operations for the uncertainty of vision. It's all about falling in love with the balance sheet, not just the P&L. It's the hardest transition you'll ever have to make, but it's the only one that leads to true freedom. And if you're a restoration owner who's ready to make that leap and you want to keep learning on how to think like a CEO and not an operator, then subscribe to this channel. We're committed to giving you the frameworks and the mindset to build a business that you don't have to be present in for it to grow. Thanks for watching. Now go build an asset.